over 55 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by the Georgia Farm Bureau in association with Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College.
All right, still going strong since 1966, well before Jennifer and I were born. Thank you. With that said, welcome to the show. Glad to have you with us.
Yes, always happy to see your smiling faces, and hopefully you'll still be smiling after you see what we have in store for you. Coming up, peanut harvest has begun statewide, and although good early rains help save the crop, late dry spells and soaring input costs still threaten profits. Damon Jones on what farmers face and how they'll cope. From the fields to the Capitol, why Georgia State Senator Sam Watson says farming experience is a powerful voice under the Gold Dome.
And then later, pecan growers, you don't want to miss this. With hurricanes and tropical storms routinely hitting Georgia, new research is helping trees and the industry stand stronger for the future. These stories and so much more starting right now. Well, despite the weather being a little nutty during growing season, yields for Georgia's #1 crop appear to be strong, with harvest season officially underway. Damon Jones traveled to Dooley County and spoke with one grower who says despite the long hours, this is his favorite time of the year.
It's time to fire up those combines as peanut harvest is now in full swing across the state. And despite a severe lack of precipitation to close out growing season, heavy rains early on helped this year's crop avoid disaster.
We started rain, I guess, right at the end of July. Literally, I didn't water from July the 30th to about a week of 10 days ago. And we started back watering some peanuts, some late peanuts. But when it gets like this, we put a little water on irrigated ones and dig them up. But I think that by and large, that through here, the timeless of the rains were pretty good on the peanut crop here. But time will tell. I don't think we're going to set a record.
This will be the scene over the next few weeks as tractors and loaders will be hard at work from sunup to sundown getting peanuts out of the field. However, getting off to a good start is the most important step of the process.
That's the most critical part to finishing any project is starting. And so getting started is key, getting it going and getting into a rhythm. And, that's the bad part about the rain. It kind of breaks your rhythm a little bit, but we need it along. We can't control it, so we just will rejoice in it. But wouldn't mind saying a little bit again. But getting in a rhythm is to me, everybody knows what they're doing, and we got a kind of a common vision forward. So it's a good time of the year to be once you've got going and got things set a little bit.
Harvest couldn't come at a better time as all the inputs that go into growing a crop were really starting to add up.
Fuel's still up, and of course we know how revolutionary fuel is, but electricity is more of an evolutionary price, but it's up and it's going to have to go up. But then most of the chemistry, even I know some of our defoliants are up. I mean, that's hard to fathom. It's difficult. The Lord has seen us through it before, and I trust He will again. I just hope it's in farming.
Despite some of the hardships, being out in these fields is a way of life farmers wouldn't have any other way.
By and large, to a fault, we're producers. People that really love farming are producers. We're not always good marketers. We're not always good at a lot of other things, but we're producers. And a person that don't get excited about gathering a crop, and it's at least not a bust, or sometimes better, and if you don't get excited about that, you probably don't need to be doing that.
Reporting from Dooley County, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
This week, we're continuing our Farmer Lawmaker series with vegetable farmer and state senator Sam Watson. As a full-time farmer and part-time legislator, the Colquitt County native is using his deep roots in ag and personal experience to shape policy at the state capitol. The Monitor's John Holcomb shares his story.
For Sam Watson, a vegetable producer turned state senator, agriculture has always been an important part of his life and is an industry that he has spent the majority of his life being involved with, everything from FFA to Georgia Farm Bureau, and is the reason he credits for running for state office. as he saw a need for a leader for his district and industry under the Gold Dome.
We had been involved back in, I guess it was 2012. There was some immigration legislation, 2011, 2012. Obviously, being in the vegetable business, it impacted our industry tremendously, and so we kind of got engaged and did some legislator tours and brought some folks down to the farm, and we were doing all that through Southern Valley, and kind of just really realized that there wasn't a lot of folks involved in this industry at the Capitol.
Being one of only a handful of state legislators that are full-time farmers, Watson says he has a unique perspective that proves to be very handy during the legislative session. As he says, a big part of what he does is educate his colleagues about all things ag.
To be a part-time legislator, you have to know a lot about a lot of different things, and I feel like coming from the farm, that's one of the things that we offer, is we do know a lot about a lot of different things because we have to deal with a lot of different things. And when you start telling people about it, they get really interested and they want to ask more questions and more questions. So a lot of times it's, sometimes people think that they don't like us, but really it's just they don't know and they don't understand because they haven't been involved in it like we have, or they don't live in the areas where what you see behind us happens every day. And so we spend a lot of our time just educating our colleagues at the Capitol.
According to Watson, that's where lobbyists like those of Georgia Farm Bureau are essential. As he says, without their help and oftentimes guidance, he and other legislators couldn't get the job done going to bat for the state's #1 industry.
I can't be everywhere and I can't understand everything fully, down to the 400 pages or whatever it is, and that's kind of where we depend on the lobbyists and the folks like Adam to make sure that they've got the time to go through that and make sure that we understand it fully, or be where we can't be because we're in another committee meeting or we're in caucus or whatever's going on. There's just a lot happening, as you know, and then we're able to either make those contacts or make those changes or do whatever we need to do with the legislation to make it better, or just there again, educate our colleagues on it, which is a lot of what we do.
Reporting in Moultrie for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
When we come back, the ways in which Houston County schools are teaming up with Georgia farmers and how fresh local food is shaping what ends up on your child's tray.
Hey y'all, I'm Tom McCall, Georgia Farm Bureau President, and I'm here with my wife Jane. Coming up in just a few short weeks is an event that all of us in the agriculture world look forward to each year, the Sunbelt Ag Expo in Moultrie. Known as North America's premier farm show, Sunbelt is an annual event that showcases the latest and greatest farming technology and equipment producers can take back home to their operations and enhance their environmental and economic sustainability. The Sunbelt Ag Expo has something for everyone. Whether you farming 2,000 acres or farming 20, I can guarantee there's something there for you. I sincerely hope you will consider attending this remarkable event October the 14th through the 16th in Moultrie. For more information, visit sunbeltexpo.com.
We look forward to seeing you at the Expo.
It's always good to see a Georgia Farm Bureau member showing off their pride. And Steed's Dairy in Grovetown is doing just that with the GFB Ag in the Classroom themed corn maze. Owner Jim Steed telling me he had Georgia Farm Bureau's best interest when he first came up with the idea for the maze.
Basically what we're trying to do this year is have a membership drive. And so I wanted to kind of focus on Farm Bureau. It's like a Farm Bureau themed fall for us. So we're going to have our youth board come out here and try to sell memberships and encourage people to join. And we're going to do a lot of other things out here with Farm Bureau. Basically what I do is I get an idea in my head, I put it on paper, and then I give it to the surveyor, and we sit down at a computer and we kind of overlay the field. And once we overlay the field and we get it in the position we want, he basically connects dots. and he puts GPS points at every turn and every letter, and so then it's my job to go back in there once we put those points out to do the connect the dots with the lawnmower and cut it out. It's pretty cool. It's just like painting on a canvas. You got an empty canvas, you just paint it, and so it gets, you know, it takes me about 2 weeks to do it because sometimes I have to cut it by hand if it gets too tall. But it's just satisfying feeling when you see it, especially we did some in the past that I don't see how I did it. So, you know, it was pretty cool.
We all know that farmers are feeding our world, but closer to home, they're feeding our kids in school too. I caught up with dietitian Lauren Koff in Houston County to see firsthand how they're using local Georgia-grown produce and meats in their school lunches.
Listen closely. You can hear the hard work that goes into preparing meals for students. What if we told you they are made possible by farmers right here in Georgia?
Today we have peaches from Pearson Farm.
Lauren Koff, a dietitian for Houston County Schools, says they strive to build fresh plates locally sourced from Georgia farms.
We've got currently some local sweet potatoes, some Georgia gem lettuce. In the past, we have had collard greens from Vienna. We have had apples from up in North Georgia. We've had peaches and berries from Lane Orchards. We've purchased sausage from Hunter Cattle. That is a Georgia operation. And we've purchased persimmons from South Georgia, satsumas, a whole variety of different things over the years.
These vibrant veggies can be found daily on the cafeteria food line in all 39 schools in Houston.
We have worked diligently over the years to build partnerships with the farms that we have. We do love to support the local economy and the farmers that can provide the produce that we use in our schools every single day. We pride ourselves on having a large variety of fresh produce on the line and full salad bars every day.
And the preparation starts early.
As a dietitian, I think one of the best things to see is a variety of foods. We love to get kids to try new foods and to experience things that they may not get to have at home. We make from scratch food things like baked chicken and squash casserole. We've got some roasted sweet potatoes today. We've got fresh veggies all along the salad bar so that you're sure to find something that you'll like and something that's healthy for you.
She says they locally source several menu items throughout the year based on what is in season.
When they bite into a fresh strawberry, you see their face light up, and it makes you feel good about what you're putting in their bodies. We like to make sure that as much as we can, it comes from around here.
With farmers' help, she says these trays provide some of the most nutritious meals you can find. And if you're a farmer and want to help feed students in Houston or in another county in our state, all you have to do is call their main office.
We've always strived to get as much fresh fruits and vegetables as possible, and we can walk you through the process of what that would take in order to serve the schools. We do have 39 locations, so it's a lot. Sometimes we focus on one grade level. Sometimes we are able to provide it for the whole county. It's just that's a very large amount for some of the smaller farms.
If you're a parent and you're interested to know about the food being prepared for your child, Koff says just ask.
Follow us on Facebook, see the pictures of trays that we post, ask about the food that's being served. We're more than happy to answer your questions.
Looking good down in Houston, but let's face it, we know many school districts are locally sourcing their cafeteria food for their students, and we want to know about it too. So send us pictures of your kids' trays or let us know on our Farm Monitor Facebook page. Well, as you know, hurricanes have leveled pecan orchards across Georgia in recent years, but after the break, we're going to show you the research that's giving growers new hope.
Finally this week, in rural southwest Georgia, you'll find the Jones Center at Each-A-Way, a private nonprofit research center dedicated to forestry, wildlife, and water resources. Spanning some 29,000 acres of longleaf pine forest, the center has long been known for its groundbreaking conservation work.
Yes, but recently their research has taken a new turn, focusing on pecan groves and how these trees can withstand the force of hurricanes. In collaboration with UGA Extension, the Jones Center has put together this in-depth look at pecan tree resilience and how the work could have lasting impacts for growers across the region.
Pecans has been the horse I've been riding for all my life. I tend 4,100 acres. My father started this farm, and so I had the unique opportunity of growing up with it.
The pecan crop in Georgia is about a $400 million a year crop for the state. If you add all the infrastructure and the support industries and all that behind it, you're looking at about a $1.9 billion value to the state in the pecan industry. In addition to the economic value of it, there's also a cultural value there because pecans have been grown here in Georgia for a little over 100 years. We're the largest producing state. So we've had a series of hurricanes over the last several years that have caused a pretty big blow to the Georgia pecan industry. Hurricane Michael probably being the biggest one. It was about a $560 million storm.
Pretty much every acre along the coast will get impacted by a hurricane about once every 13 years. And so those are, the major storms that you hear about: Hurricane Michael, Helene, Idalia. But then on top of that, tropical storms, which don't quite reach hurricane speeds, still cause pretty significant damage, and those happen about every 5 years.
Where we live and the proximity that we are to the Gulf and the Atlantic, this is part of life for us.
Buck's location just happens to be in a bad spot for hurricanes. So in most of the hurricanes that we've experienced, Buck is usually my first call to kind of find out, what the damage was, what things are looking like. Knowing somebody with the experience with these storms that he has and hearing them say, this is the worst I've ever experienced, I knew when I heard that it was bad.
I live in the middle of an orchard. So the worst of it happened for us, I think, somewhere between 1 a.m., 5 a.m. You stay there and you experience it, waiting on a door to blow in and windows to blow out, and it was rough. There's nothing to prepare you for. When you go out and you observe it, it's just, the reality of it is tough.
So whenever we have a hurricane hit the pecan industry, you're looking at basically 3 different types of loss there. You've got loss to that year's crop, you've got loss to the tree, so there's a value of that tree there, and then you have the future income loss. When you first go out into an orchard after a storm, it's overwhelming when there's been a lot of damage because you really can't see anything because there's just trees laying everywhere. So it's hard to get a perspective from the ground of really how bad it is. And it's so much, especially for somebody whose livelihood's tied up in that, it's such a shocking thing for them to see that you're often just paralyzed at first. And then kind of the instinct of farmers tends to take over and they just get to work and start the cleanup process.
In 3 months' time, we went from a hurricane morning to cleaned it all up. Took me 3 months, which I think I feel like, I can't thank my crew enough. That's a monumental task. Over 23,000 trees. Anywhere from 3-year-old to 50-year-olds got knocked out in that storm.
A major hurricane is going to present serious challenges to growers of any size. It's extremely expensive to clean these orchards up after a storm. A lot of times larger growers can absorb that a little better than the smaller growers because they have a lot of the large equipment, they have a lot of labor. Smaller growers, it may just be one guy and a couple of workers and they don't have the large equipment. It can be a little bit more of a challenge for a small grower, but it's certainly challenging for both.
We've used a variety of different methods to try to understand hurricane risk to orchards. We measured about 1,000 trees immediately after Hurricane Idalia to learn about some of the risk factors. But we're also expanding to using drones and satellite imagery to study damage, which lets us extend some of these findings to the entire state. From our surveys of pecan orchards, we found 3 things that growers can think about during site selection to reduce hurricane exposure. First, it really helps to pay attention to soil texture. Orchards that are on sandy soils will stand up to wind a lot better because of their deeper root development. Second, it's important to pay attention to the surrounding landscape. Orchards that are next to fields, ponds, or other open areas can be a lot more exposed, and just a little bit of cover from surrounding forest or vegetation can provide some protection. And then third, establishing orchards on flatter terrain can provide some protection. Orchards that are perched on hills can be more exposed, and also those that are nestled in valleys can experience more severe winds. Once a site is established, one of the most important things a grower can do is to do hedge pruning, which reduces canopy size and the drag that wind can create. Second, we know that trees that are about 14 inches in diameter are some of the most vulnerable, so maintaining a lot of different sizes in your orchards can spread out some of the risk.
So also with hedge pruning, what you see is that when you bring the size of that canopy down, you're bringing the top of that tree back down to size that the root system of that tree can still better support, and you got better anchorage. And that's one thing that we also see for young trees. I think one of the issues that has led to the degree of hurricane damage we've had, certainly for that younger age range, is it's natural for pecan growers to want to push these young trees when they plant them, to get them as big as possible, as fast as they can, so they can get them into production as fast as they can. Long term, that's probably not a good idea. What we are seeing is that these trees that are pushed so fast, the tops of those trees generally outgrow the root systems, and they're going to be more vulnerable to being blown over. So we've changed our recommendations there. As far as management of these young trees, we recommend kind of slowing down on the fertilizer, lighten up on the fertilizer somewhat, cut back on the water that we're applying to these young trees to kind of slow that growth down so that the root system can kind of keep pace with the top of that tree's growth. Generally after a hurricane, there are a lot of programs available to growers to help with some of these issues. USDA often comes out with several programs to help growers cost share some of the cleanup process, and often some of the aftermath as far as replanting and that kind of thing. So there is always kind of a lag period that growers have to get through, but there is some cost share there.
And you just need to think about all those things. It's not going to be a yard trimming. I mean, it's going to be a massive effort to clean up a pecan orchard, and you need to try to think of all those things and don't underestimate what it's going to take to clean up a 45-year-old pecan tree. Not one of them, but thousands and thousands of them.
We know hurricanes aren't going away, so our research is ongoing and we're making progress every day. Growers and researchers are working together to make the future for pecans in Georgia resilient and sustainable.
Wow, incredible story. Big thanks to the Jones Center at Each Way, along with UGA Extension, for sharing that with us. Now, if you'd like to learn more about the research on pecans and hurricanes, just scan the QR code you see there on your screen. And to keep up with all the important work they're doing, you can follow the Jones Center on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
Well, that's our show for this week. Thanks for watching. See you next time right here on the Farm Monitor.
Have a great week.